I myself, Erin Brunel, is here. Dr. Rivera-Colon could not be with us this evening, and Dr. Caballero Roca.
Present.
Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. As I mentioned, Dr. Rivera-Colon can't be with us tonight, so I will be subbing in to chair the meeting on her behalf. Some quick housekeeping, so bear with me. On March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which, among other things, extends the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue to hold remote meetings without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The language does not make a substantive change to the open meeting laws other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31, 2023 to March 31, 2025. This is public is hereby informed that in all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of this meeting. All right, so welcome everybody. Welcome. Gloria or Gustavo, I would entertain a motion to recognize committee member Eleanor Wilson and to suspend the rules to allow her to participate in tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Gustavo, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, we will need to roll call because Gustavo is on Zoom. So roll call. Erin Brunel is a yes. Gustavo Romero?
Yes.
And Dr. Dr. Caballero?
See.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson is our chair of policy and governance, and that is the main topic for tonight's meeting, so we want to include her in the meeting. I'd like to also just bring to the table and recognize the acting commissioner of the Board of Education here in Massachusetts, Russell Johnson, and his chief of staff, Lauren Wu. And I'll just also like to recognize that committee members Ronnie Collimore and Rosalie Tenzie Williams are with us in the audience this evening. All right, well, moving right along and getting started. Item 1 on our agenda this evening, in correlation to the Holyoke Public Schools capacity building memo, tonight we're going to be discussing policy. So in policy development, we're discussing basically what we're doing for policy now, giving the commissioner an update on what we've been doing and what we're looking to do moving forward. So Ms. Wilson, I know you've prepared a summary for him, and I will turn it over to you to go over that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So starting in February 2022, the Holyoke School Committee reinstated subcommittees. So as the chairperson of the policy subcommittee, which has been recently renamed the Finance and Governance Subcommittee, we've been working on some priority policies. All policies are reviewed through the lens of what is best for our students, first and foremost, and our district while meeting state and federal regulations and laws. The Massachusetts Association for School Committees supported the subcommittee through the first few meetings to ensure that we were knowledgeable about updating policies and the procedures. There are currently approximately 350 school committee policies. So we've established a collaborative practice with our receiver superintendent and his administrative assistant. We've developed a tracking system to manage this process. We recognize that it was quite cumbersome going through all the steps. So our first step in our process is that we review the current policy and we look at the MASC, again, the Massachusetts Associations for School Committees model policy, and we make adjustments as needed. The receiver and superintendent comments on the policy and brings any concerns to our attention. Once the updated policy has been agreed upon by the subcommittee, the full school committee reviews and approves it for public comment. The administrative assistant posts the proposed policy on our website for 2 weeks to allow for public comment and review. And then after that period, we come back to the full school committee to review any public comments and, if necessary, make adjustments there. Or we haven't had this experience yet of actually sending it back to the subcommittee if there are significant concerns that were called to our attention. Then the full school committee approves and votes to send to the receiver superintendent for review and adoption. And then once adopted by our receiver and superintendent, the administrative assistant notifies MASC to update the online policy. So just to note that MASC, MASC, currently houses all of our policies on their website. There is a translation function integrated into MASC website, and there are a number of languages that can be accessed through that translation function. So there is a $950 annual fee for that service. So going back to those 350 policies that haven't been reviewed since the start of receivership, this leads to where we now need a review of all of our policies, which is a time-consuming and tedious process. So we would like to contract with MASC to lead a full review of all policies in collaboration with the district. In addition, during receivership, school committee policies were overwritten by the receiver, which caused district policies to be established. From my training, I understand that school committee develops district-wide policies while district personnel create plans, procedures, programs, systems, and guidelines based upon the school committee policies. So what we also have to do is we'll have to review district policies listed on the HPS website. And we'll work with our receiver and superintendent to address them through either adopting them as a school committee policy or transferring them to a district guideline procedure, etc. The receiver and superintendent has collaborated with the subcommittee on significant district changes, which has been really helpful, I believe. They've included shifting Holyoke High North to the block schedule, and reviewing the new dean admissions procedures as well as the Yonder Bags procedures. So it's nice that we're being brought into the loop and we're being consulted, even though some of these are not policies per se, but they want our input. So that, again, it's that wonderful collaboration that we've established. So moving forward, as I mentioned earlier, I would like to engage MASC in a full policy review. That involves MASC collecting all documents from Holyoke that contain policies, contracts, handbooks, existing manuals, budget documents, etc., and we match the existing policy with an MASC model. That compilation is sent to the school committee, the subcommittee typically, 2 sections at a time, because there are some heftier sections, and we review them policy by policy with discussions on relation to the law, regulations, best practices, and where appropriate, making district-specific matches to what actually happens here in our district. Policies cannot be made district-specific if the specificity violates law, regulation, or any other state or federal mandate. So this is an expenditure that was not included in the budget. So this robust review only costs $10,500. We are asking the state's financial support in this process to ensure that Holyoke Public Schools have current school committee policies in effect when we return to local control. And then recently there was an ADA update that has new requirements around ensuring availability of web content for blind and deaf people. So guidance will be forthcoming from the Association on policy revisions for compliance reasons. So the MASC Legal Counsel is looking at that now, and our district, as well as all districts, are looking into ways to ensure availability. So that's my summary.
Do any of the committee members have any comments?
Yes.
Dr. Caballero?
Thank you so much for the summary and all the work that's been put into it. I had a question. I have actually a question. You mentioned that all the policies were designed to support the students and to represent the students. I would like to know how that is done. You know, what is the outreach that is done? How is that done? Is it through school by school? Are the parents involved into learning and knowing about all the policies? I would like to know a little bit more about that.
So currently, there is not a procedure where we engage with the public outside of getting feedback when we're updating policies. We have, so I'm thinking here. Give me a moment, because that was easy because I had written that. We have not done that. We as a subcommittee want to make sure we look at things through the lens of students, making sure that things are meaningful. I'll bring up for an example. We just were meeting about lunchtime as well as recess, and so we were discussing. We looked into research as to what is recommended for the amount of time students have while sitting eating lunch. Do we need to take in consideration the time when they're standing in line, because sometimes lunches are larger, and so you're not getting let's say 20 minutes to eat. You're lucky to get 12 after waiting in line. So these are the things that we think about when developing policies. We look at it through a student's lens, and that has to be tempered sometimes with looking at it through a district lens and our confinements based upon the size of our school, the size of our lunchroom, things of that sort. Staffing all has to be looked at. Where, yes, would we like to make lunches 30 minutes? That'd be wonderful in in the ideal situation where we had large cafeterias, which could manage, a larger lunchtime, which then could, then move to recess. But sometimes, our cafeterias or cafetoriums are small in such a way that we just need that rotation and it doesn't really lend itself. So we're always trying to balance the needs. But to go back to your question that you asked, right now we are not engaging in any outreach besides just getting the feedback on policies. Did that answer your question?
So much. Thank you. Yeah.
I would just like to comment too, though, even though feedback isn't necessarily solicited in the initial phase of creating policy, we of course are always open to hearing from folks, right? So we had a PTO come speak to the school committee. We took some of their recommendations, brought it back to policy, took that under influence and advisement when looking at the lunch and recess policy. And of course, all agendas are posted, all meetings are open to the public and encouraged to have people come and attend and speak out on. So, the more we can engage the community and get their input on things, the more we'll take their views into consideration, even if it's not like a direct, ask about something specific. That's why PTOs, for example, are so critical to the forming of a district. All right. Commissioner, did you have anything you'd like to comment, add, questions, concerns?
Thank you very much. I have
Great. Good.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
That's always our
Excellent.
goal.
so really and I wide vision like
Hmm?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The green light is on, but
Yeah.
okay. Keep it closer. All right. That statewide organizations are producing materials that are meant to be available and accessible for every kid. And I really like the idea about how you want to customize what whole. So I just really want to reinforce that idea. You said it. It was very clear to me. It's not even that you said it. There's a plan for it in the way in which you have the work. Soto. So I am very encouraged by that, and I think that's really you want to own the policy. Unique to Holyoke and own. So I also had the same question about stakeholder engagement, and I think the way in which about it is right on that you have people who come and present to you, and so being able to take their feedback, way of formulating future policy as necessary. Right? We don't need policies for every little thing. We want to make sure we're judicious about writing into policy. I also think that you all are a representative form of government, and so you all have the ability to reach out constituents.
Correct.
I think about a policy that comes to mind about what should happen to twins when they are assigned to a grade level. Should they be in the same class or not? That would be the type of thing that you'd want to hear from parents about.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is. That would be the type of thing that I would maybe want to find out for constituencies who would be affected directly by this policy. So I think you can lean on that representative form of government that you have in a school committee in order to engage stakeholders. And also, I just want to reinforce that I was not surprised, but very, that the two policies, well aware of what you are planning, comment through your very deliberate school process.
So there's actually 3 times where, because our subcommittee agenda is posted for public comment as well. So there are 3 times where we can get input.
Great to hear. The main question that I still have is just about timeline. Now, DESE can't endorse a particular vendor. Say, yes, you're asking.
Correct.
Contract vendor, so I have to leave it a little bit more at that.
Yes, I understand that.
We have one. There are some other open-ended from my vantage point. What type of time frame?
So I would think that if we were to meet on a regular basis, a monthly basis, probably also pulling a couple maybe Saturday retreat type meetings to do this. To be honest, it's I would think a year and a half, maybe even longer. And it's not just about developing them. It's that we have a meeting tonight. If we were going to, it's a full month until we can get the second review. So it really is, every time we take a policy to the full subcommittee, to the full committee, it's a month before we can vote to forward them to Mr. Soto to review and then to adopt.
So I was just to add too, once out of receivership, the process changes slightly because then we approve and adopt. I think the district goal would be the same goal that we suggest for our actual transition when we come to this final decision in August. Whatever time frame our transition time frame is, I think the goal could be, once we know that time frame, to align having this complete for the same time as exiting receivership. There's obviously always policy work to be done. Policies are always being governed. Policy will be a committee that meets regularly even after a policy review is complete. But I would say employing somebody like MASC or another vendor to assist with this, I'm sure they have a timeline in mind of what their typical process would take. I was just scanning the email. I couldn't see it in here. But I would say to piggyback it with whatever timeline we ultimately establish as how long our transition would be. It's going to take about that, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the goal. So
right.
a school year, and then ultimately if it's not done just simply because it can't physically be done in that time frame, then obviously we all discuss it and adjust from there. But I would say that would be a reasonable goal.
I would be
is that too ambitious?
I don't think it's too ambitious per se. I think it's just I think it's ambitious from the standpoint of working on that collaborative focus. The subcommittee could move through them rather quickly by itself in a silo. I mean, we could get it done for the sake of getting it done, but we don't want to do that. We want to make it meaningful. We want to make sure that we have the partners who the policy affects review it. I know Mr. Soto, if it's a finance, he farms it out to have the finance department review it. If it's about curriculum, we'll have them look at it. So it's done with a collaborative effect so that there's no, oh my goodness, how did this get, that's not what we do. How did this get approved? So, the process is one that's very meaningful, and I would not want to rush it for the sake of getting it done. If it was going to be done, let's say it was local control was going to be sooner, I think we would look at the lens of which section needs to be done first and prioritized. I think that's the way we would do it, rather than just starting at A.
That sounds really fair. Commissioner, if you'd like to respond.
Yes, Ms. Wilson, I think that's right on. When I think about when we imagine that this work in particular, I don't valid in order for there to be a consideration. I think we want to make sure it's up and running and on good footing, up, have the vendor is going to run on
Mm-hmm.
and my vantage point, it's important to get it right.
I agree.
Well, then it's make sure to ship that knowing that it's up and running, and then like you said, when you transition to local, well, obviously, but at the end of the day, that actually won't be that big of a difference. But have all these steps set. Receiver that will involve the superintendent when it comes to school. I'm not sitting here. This is a task that has to.
Yeah, as long as it's organized and in process and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. That sounds completely reasonable. Okay.
And I think maybe what we'd want to see in the plan is just thinking about what are those priority policies. That
Yeah.
we want. That might be the for us to be on. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That one was not. I trusted you. The green was on.
Green
but
was on. Green's off now.
But we could not hear you very well.
Okay. Yes.
Hopefully
sorry
the
about
people at home could hear you. Okay, great. And just to piggyback on that too, for example, like there's procedural policy of the school committee as well. So we're already jumping the gun and starting to work on that because I know one of our final
Yes.
topics in this process is reviewing procedural. We discussed it at our retreat in the beginning of the year as well. And then, we've been quite busy. So we're working that back into our agenda to make sure that we're working on setting our rules and procedural processes, which is different than the overarching policies because that's the function
Yes.
of the body. So we hope to have that all organized and complete for you. So when we come to our final local control meeting where we're set to discuss that, we have all that organized and ready to go for you as well. Okay. Dr. Caballo? Dr. Caballero, I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. Mr. Gustavo, any comments? Mr. Gustavo, Mr. Romero, where is my brain? I have a case of the Mondays
No, ma'am.
today. Thank you.
It's
Yes.
Adele, yeah. That was when the word prioritize policies, those two words came up. It's really what I would love for us to focus on. And so that aligns also with the turnaround plan that we have been designing. It's policies, turnaround plan, and what is it that we're prioritizing? So we have a final product that makes sense, that is customized, to our community needs, and that is really solid. So I appreciate those words. Thanks.
So I would suggest adding, if I might do so, to our next full school committee agenda items out of the numerous sections that are included in our policy manual, trying to lean into, if as a full school committee, what we believe the priority sections are in order to really have a better understanding that sooner rather than later. As well as I would be, and then I can also seek guidance and support from our MASC representative to share what their thoughts are, and I can bring that to the meeting just to kind of they've been doing this business a little longer than I have, so I'd rather have their support with figuring out, what are the ones that what sections we should focus on.
Yep, and then also too at the next meeting we'll review this meeting's minutes so we can put on that agenda to formally vote on as a body to recommend to the receiver to spend the money to enlist a vendor.
So my understanding is that the funds are not allocated in this financial plan, the I'm missing a word here tonight. The
Budget?
budget, thank you. That $10,500 is not within the budget, and that the way funds are looking right now, that could not be added in. That's why I was looking for the state to possibly help support that as part of our transition plan.
How would we formalize such a thing? Commissioner?
Green light is on. We actually provide funding to the district on over the years to varying degrees
Right.
and through a grant. And so I think Lauren and I would go back and look at our available reserves. And but we had said that we want to be able to invest in the transition. So I'm not initially. I think that we need. My intention is to make good on that promise and for us to go back and look at how we can do that. And so, but we have a mechanism. It actually isn't hard at all. And I just want to reiterate that the good, finances of this team, the financial health of the district, we appreciate the work that the finance team under Receiver Soto's leadership has gotten the district to a point where they're not reliant upon state funds to the extent that the way that we began the receivership, just really wanting to invest the district, but ultimately that investment has to, be reduced. And just really appreciate the work that's been done here to do that. That is being a bit reiterative of a previous conversation, but funding this makes great sense as it's really a means to an end towards local control, and we very much appreciate that.
Okay. So would you like to see the full body formally vote on it, or do you consider this the actionable step?
Oh, this is the actionable step.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
this is the
Just to
subcommittee.
confirm,
Yeah,
so that way,
appreciate it.
Okay.
we can do that if we need to. All right, great. Topic 2 for this discussion is discuss and recommend approval of the district's school choice participation plans. So I was reviewing this, and I mean, we basically don't have a customized plan to Holyoke. If you'd like, I'm happy to review our current school choice policy. It's pretty standard. So May of every school year, the administration will determine the number of spaces in each school available to choice students. By June of every school year, in consideration be given withdrawal from the provisions of the choice law, a public meeting will be held to review this decision. A selection of non-resident students for admission in the form of a random drawing when the number of requests exceed the number of spaces available. There will be 2 drawings for the purposes that will first take place during the last week of the current school year, but no later than July 1. The second will be conducted during the week immediately preceding the opening of the next school year and will be based on the possibility of unexpected additional openings. Any student who is accepted for admission under the provisions of this policy is entitled to remain in the district until graduation from high school, except if there is a lack of funding for the program. The School Choice Committee affirms its position that it shall not discriminate in the admissions of any child on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender, equality, age, sexual orientation, ancestry, athletic performance, physical handicap, special need, academic performance, or proficiency in the English language. We don't have anything more specific regarding school choice within the district. So I think that's something we probably want to look at when we're doing our policy review. Like if I'm zoned for Morgan and I want to go to Kelly, we don't have anything that I could find that was outlined, if I'm not mistaken. By all means, Miss Wilson.
I believe that would not fall under the purview of the school committee. I think that would be a administration procedure and not fall into that high level overview. I would feel that it's something that the administration would be able to manage, and they probably have a procedure or a guideline for that.
Yeah, just an observation reviewing it. I noticed we don't have that currently. So, other than that, I wasn't sure if there was anything specific you wanted to go over with this. I know school choice is something that this committee probably wants to see continue. I can't speak for the committee. This is not something we've been reviewing on an annual basis where it says that by June 1 of every school year in consideration is being given to withdrawal from the provisions of school choice. So that's something that as a body we need to ensure we're doing. So I can certainly add that to our May 28th agenda, saying that it's by June 1 every single year. So that's something that we'll certainly make sure we're doing. Other than that, did you have any direct concerns or questions regarding this policy?
My understanding is we just had it there as an example.
I see.
No, yeah, we were just listing policies as an example,
Oh,
but that one in
okay.
particular has an annual timeline, so felt it was important to list. But like you were saying, Ms. Wilson, it's just part of the annual review of policies and things that the committee will need to vote on or
Great.
take action on.
Yes. Ms.
So
Wilson.
I think one thing we can do as a policy subcommittee, policy and governance subcommittee, is I think we need to identify policies when there's deadlines attached to them or personnel sometimes are listed within them. I was in manufacturing years ago, so I have a Six Sigma, all that, tight, keeping policies tight. And so keeping a tracking method so that if there's changes and we are ensuring our dates with reviews. So we will be creating that as well.
Okay, great. Moving right along then. Get back to my screen. I think we covered item 2 in our discussion under item 1. So it's 5:43. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns, or topics they'd like to review? Commissioner?
Two things. I really appreciate this process, and I think it's been so open and transparent of that, the community can see our engagement together. We had talked in our last meeting about beginning to draft a plan, and I'm wondering about just the status of that because there's so many good ideas that we're coming at together, and I just want to make sure that we
So
are beginning to develop that.
I can confirm Dr. Rivera-Colon has drafted a plan because she has shared it with me. She's not here today, so I don't want to speak
Sure.
for her and present something that she's been working on, but I will confer with her and ensure it's shared with you. I thought she had, but I guess not. But I know that it's being worked, that as we're going along, she's adding and adjusting. So I've seen the Google Doc, so I know it's there, and I will ensure it gets shared with you probably tomorrow.
That'd be great. I
Yeah.
know that we would just love to, because conversations will be fresh in our heads if
Yep.
we can look now and say, like,
Yeah,
oh, do you want to make
and it's
any
supposed to be a
adjustments?
working doc, so you
That's
can
right.
make edits and additions as we progress as well.
Great,
So
great. My second item is just beginning, if you don't mind, to look ahead to our next meeting, where we're really thinking about collaboration and stakeholder engagement, and just thinking about, is there any pre-work that we want to do before that meeting? And I'm thinking about not unlike the conversation we had here about engagement and community engagement, how do we begin to think about that for our next meeting, particularly those that we might want to invite in either prior to or after our meeting? And in particular, I'm thinking about the teachers as well, in terms of their involvement in this process as well.
yeah, so what we've been doing is meeting with the folks that we feel are important to the conversation about a week prior to meeting with you guys at this meeting. So again, I'll confer with Dr. Rivera-Colon, and I know that we plan to meet with the teachers union, the paraprofessionals union. I know that we'd like to invite other people that are involved with the children in the community, for example, Girls Inc., Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, those kind of community partners, probably even stretching into our other community partners like Lighthouse, for example, right? Because they're an option where we do send students, and so maybe they have ideas of how we could not send them students per se, but and other ideas. So I know that we do plan to do some outreach to try to get some meetings going in preparation for that meeting, and if not, certainly having people at the table for that meeting. So I'll make sure I connect with her tomorrow as well, and we'll get on planning that, and I'll update you on exactly where we're going with that.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, great. So seeing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from 4/8 and also the minutes from 4/23.
Motion to
Make a
approve.
motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? I myself,
Aye.
Ms. Brunel, is a yes.
Yes.
Dr. Dr.
Gloria, you
Cavallero?
can call me Gloria, no worries.
Mr. Romero?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Well, seeing no other discussion for the evening, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Mr. Romero, if you could second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? I myself am a yes. Mr. Romero?
Aye.
We know he's a yes. Uh, Gloria,
See.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
you.
for joining us.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate your
Miss
work.
Wilson, for your attentiveness this evening as well. And the regular school committee will meet at 6 p.m.